If anything can be said about what it is to be human, it's that we tell stories. For hundreds of thousands of years, the memory of our existence has persisted, if only for stories. A question that comes to me when I think about Werner Herzog as a storyteller is, why do we need poets? I think that is the question Werner Herzog is compelled to answer in all of his films.
The battle had raged so ferociously that afterwards grass would never grow here again.
Lessons of Darkness is Werner Herzog's visual narrative of the very real aftermath of the Gulf War in Kuwait. Devastated by retreating Iraqi forces who blew up over 700 oil wells, Kuwait looked like something otherworldly.
White mountain ranges, clouds, the land shrouded in mist.
This could be any war in any country. In a guide for the Perplexed, Herzog describes the film as a science fiction. The film plays out as if aliens have landed on an unnamed planet and are observing the world around them.
The first creature we encountered tried to communicate something to us.
This idea becomes more explicit with the shot of the firefighter lighting up a plume of gushing oil.
Two figures are approaching an oil well. One of them holds a lighted torch. What are they up to? Are they going to rekindle the blaze? Has life without fire become unbearable for them?
In reality, the gush of oil needed to be ignited to prevent it approaching other fires. And you see Werner Herzog do this kind of interjection a lot. He's very proud of himself for having invented the Blaise Pascal quote for the intro of Lessons of Darkness. The collapse of the stellar universe will occur like creation in grandiose splendor. He made up the quote entirely, saying that's how far you have to go in such a film. What matters, though, is not so much the voice itself, but what the voice has to say. It is the content that spooks the audience. At the end of his film, Into the Inferno, you see the streams of lava erupting from the interior of the earth, and Werner Herzog spooks us.
This boiling mass is just monumentally indifferent to scurrying roaches, retarded reptiles, and vapid humans alike.
We see that across almost all his films, fictional or non-fictional. All his characters belong to the same family. As he would put it, a vast interconnected work that I've been concentrating on for my entire life. Like the separate bricks that make up a building, taken together, they constitute something bigger than their individual parts. So, out of those bricks, let's take a look at arguably the most tenacious one. Real events acquire unreal qualities. In Werner Herzog's film Aguirre, The Wrath of God, he says that there's an inner flow to most of my films, one that can't be followed with just a wristwatch. In Aguirre, things steadily move into delirium and become hallucinatory, as if the audience is being taken directly into the interior of things. There's an image in Aguirre that comes immediately after the opening sequence, a minute-long shot of the raging waters of Rio Urubamba below Machu Picchu. The waters are so violent, almost boiling with rage, completely out of proportion to what a human being might be able to withstand. And 3 seconds of this would have been sufficient, but a minute of it prepares the audience for an approaching fever dream in the jungle. A filmmaker carefully sows, then harvests. After having seen this image, we are better prepared to accept the disproportion to come, the outrageousness of Aguirre, his grandiose failure to conquer an entire continent with 30 starving and ill-equipped soldiers. So why the need for such stylization, invention, poetry, and imagination in Herzog's films? Well, in order to locate a deeper layer of truth, one that can access a distant echo of something that can illuminate us far beyond the reach of fact, we must dream. Werner Herzog's term for this is ecstatic truth. It seems that Werner Herzog, the filmmaker, acts as a messenger for Werner Herzog, the philosopher. This idea of ecstatic truth is borrowed by the philosopher Heidegger. The ancient Greek word for truth is aletheia, unhiddenness. It comes from a root word meaning to conceal, with the a prefix as a negation, like the word atypical just means not typical. So truth, in this view, isn't just waiting to be discovered. Truth is something that has to be actively uncovered. It defines truth as an act of disclosure. So if we go back to Lessons of Darkness, what exactly was going on in Kuwait that Werner Herzog felt wasn't being disclosed? During the war, Herzog noticed that the world had been saturated night and day with images of the burning oil wells in Kuwait, but through the filter of television news, with 10-second segments, tabloid style of reporting, and soon everyone had forgotten about these spectacular fields of serene, pitch-black burning oil wells that covered the landscape. Herzog was seeking images of another kind, something different and longer lasting.
For example, we have found out that there are serious problems facing our civilization, like energy problems, environment problems, nuclear power and all this overpopulation of the world. But generally it is not understood yet that problem of the same magnitude is that we do not have adequate images, and that's what I'm working on, a new grammar of images.
And so a few things come to mind. What exactly does adequate imagery look like? And how does one go about achieving it? In Erik Barnouw's A History of the Nonfiction Film, we learn about a prospector and his film Nanook of the North. For most of Robert Flaherty's early career, he found himself in the North in search of iron ore. But by 1913, he began to include with his outfit a film camera in which he began to document Eskimo life. The film we're watching right now is mostly fabricated. When Flaherty arrived back from the North, he found himself disappointed with his 30,000 feet of Eskimo life film. It was, in his own words, a film of this and that, and with no thread and no relation, adequate to nothing. So he went back to the northern regions of Canada and returned with a film he called Nanook of the North. This time, he incorporated fiction into the film by asking Nanook to perform indigenous practices long forgotten. He even built an igloo just to cut into it in order to show what life inside might look like. Much like Werner Herzog, the lie was far more important and far more real than fact. That these artificial circumstances could drag hidden truths to the surface, that sometimes reality left entirely to itself is simply not enough. It's probably for the same reason in 2022 when Saradosa's film Fire of Love, a film about the volcanologist Maurice and Katia Krafft, was released, Werner Herzog felt the need to make a more adequate film about the Kraffts to tell their true story. The Fire Within, a requiem for Katia and Maurice Krafft, is a film produced by Werner Herzog, composed almost entirely of archival footage shot by the Kraffts on their volcanology endeavors. And it is just beautiful. The Kraffts to Werner Herzog are fascinating. And Herzog often shows that while this couple is fascinating to observe, they too are people compelled by fascination. That while seeming to idle on the precipice of a great discovery or experience, this couple are merely observed and are observing the world with us.
A good part of what we discover in the archive of the Kraffts is sheer hardship. Many of the viewers of this will probably be glad not to be there, but I would give much if I could have been their companion.
In this documentary of the Kraffts, Herzog essentially writes their love story, introducing us to them as young and curious volcanologists unaware of the life they would live together. It's no secret how Werner Herzog thinks about the universe.
Taking a close look at what's around us, there is some sort of a harmony. It is the harmony of overwhelming and collective murder. And we have to become humble in front of this overwhelming misery and overwhelming fornication. There is no harmony in the universe. We have to get acquainted to this idea that there is no real harmony as we have conceived it.
But as much as he describes the universe as chaotic and violent, I always feel that he writes his narration with a hint of rebellion. He shows us love, curiosity, and pursuits of greatness, all of which drive people to their deaths, but he doesn't write these stories in shame or in hate. Rather, he writes these stories out of respect and admiration to the rebels and their courage to face the universe. Werner Herzog likes to remind us that we, if we wanted, could be filmmakers. This is why he shows us footage of the crafts setting up a scene and doing retakes and wearing costumes and eventually leaving their practice as volcanologists in pursuit of becoming photographers and filmmakers of the great fires from below. That to be a great filmmaker, you have to start living greatly. One of Werner Herzog's more curious documentaries comes from the archival footage of Timothy Treadwell, a nature enthusiast who had spent 13 summers in the Alaskan national parks living with grizzly bears. Grizzly Man is Werner Herzog's film about the life of Timothy Treadwell, using Treadwell's archival footage to try and answer the question, why would anyone do this?
Beyond his posings, the camera was his omnipresent companion. It was his instrument to explore the wilderness around him, but increasingly it became something more.
Throughout the film, Herzog interjects himself with narration to confront the philosophy of Treadwell, and Herzog seems to argue with him and is skeptical of Treadwell's beliefs on nature.
Here I differ with Treadwell. He seemed to ignore the fact that in nature there are predators. I believe the common denominator of the universe is not harmony, but chaos, hostility, and murder.
But even with his skepticism, he recognizes a filmmaker within Treadwell and shows us his mistakes, his pain. He shows us that this really is just a man living with grizzly bears in Alaska. And so to find out why Treadwell found himself living with bears, he interviews those who knew him during those 13 summers. He goes to meet his family.
He did change his name to Treadwell to be theatrical, and it was a family name.
And then he goes to where Timothy Treadwell died.
And then here's about all that's left of the bear that killed him. Pieces of rib bone. This bear was shot and drug off and eaten by other bears here, right in this area.
In pursuing the life of Treadwell, at least for me, what I see in Herzog is empathy. Seeing Treadwell as just another rebel who decided to face the universe and died. That Herzog would have preferred in some small and private way to have been wrong about the nature of the world.
In his action movie mode, Treadwell probably did not realize that seemingly empty moments had a strange secret beauty. Sometimes images themselves develop their own life, their own mysterious stardom.
At the end of Grizzly Man, Herzog allows a shot of a bear, possibly the bear that killed Treadwell, to dominate the frame.
I see only the overwhelming indifference of nature. To me, there is no such thing as a secret world of the bears, and this blank stare speaks only of a half-bored interest in food. But for Timothy Treadwell, this bear was a friend, a savior.
So I feel like this brings us back to that original question. Why do we need poets? Well, at least how I assume Werner Herzog would answer. NASA never really considers sending a poet past the stratosphere and in view of our blue home. That cameras are wasted on the astronauts. How would a poet describe our world? If you want to truly know how devastating a war can be, then you need to bring a poet. Storytelling through great writers, filmmakers, painters, musicians, and artists alike help us to understand and to remember our humanity and get a little closer to our ecstatic truth.